Burgess, right in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Motion, the Board of Mayor and Burgess approve the minutes of the regular meeting June 6, 2023, and special meeting of June 27, 2023, to have received copies for review. Second.
All right, any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Burgess approved the monthly meeting, monthly reports of June, each have received copies for review. Second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Notice is, second. First, opening comments. First of all, as we all know, fireworks are going to be on Friday night. And the question I've been asked more than any other person, entire tenure as mayor, is where are the fireworks going to be launched? Now, here's the official answer to the rest. No, that wasn't even not citizens. This is just, there's all this confusion. So we have relocated the shooting area 150 yards to the southwest, across the river to the Uniworld. So it's only 150 yards away, and it's anticipated that the viewing areas will remain essentially the same. But because we moved it, we have the capability to shoot some larger shells, and we will be shooting some larger shells, which will go higher. So there may be some new viewing areas that we don't know about yet. In those areas, you'll only see the larger shells and not the smaller shells. So the answer is that everyone's required to the regular viewing place, and we're all happy. So that's the official answer.
People could actually go down to Rotary Field and Greenfield. They can't.
Well, they never could. Now, well, let me just say that we had a lengthy discussion about it, and some of the shells could reach that field. Maybe not the middle of the field, but then what do you do? So you go to the field. At least for this year, we decided to not open the field. Now, good enough. If no shells go there, I guess it's not clear whether they go there.
That's good to know, because people would then try to go there. Because it's only 150 yards from
They're going to have to break through their house and a fortress of a new man.
No problem.
And that door. Okay. Secondly, you may very well have one or two special meetings this month for short matters, and the reason is that the state, in all of our grants and all of our documents, they send us documents and they want them signed like in 3 or 4 days. And as of tonight, we will complete everything that we have, but we may very well get something that we're already familiar with, that we're working on, that we may have to approve. So I guess the question is, like the nights we select, are they generally okay? Yeah, I try and make them as close to our regular schedule as I can. But, so you may have none, you may have one.
They're so slow on everything else. Damn it, they want nothing done right today. We need to get it done tomorrow.
So my view is, Margaret took Connecticut, we got everyone, so you the state. Everything on time and first flight. Concludes my opening comments. We will now go to public comment. Is there anyone in the room or on Zoom who would like to make a public comment? If you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand, sign in the chat box, or do something so you can recognize. Jim?
Negative.
All right, second call for public comment. Last call for public comment. Jim?
Yeah.
All right, let's proceed to Kyle Kelly and your monthly NHC report.
Good evening, everybody. Happy belated 4th of July. Last month, I just got a few highlights and I'll let you continue on. Busy month. Something to note, we have been reached out to on several occasions this last month and already this upcoming month here from Trinity out of Waterbury for more assistance and help uncover their side of the town in Waterbury. So we've been doing that on a regular basis. I'd just like to point out a couple of quick things. We went out almost 40 times mutual aid last month, while we only needed assistance 5 times last month. So that's huge. A big kudos to our folks for getting the calls done and covering them quickly. Something else I'd like to note is Naugatuck is very unique, in my opinion, with the care that we provide. I included our monthly newsletter this month to everybody, and I just want to point out that twice this month we had what we call code saves. These are patients that we responded to that were in cardiac arrest. Their heart was not beating, they were not breathing, and we got them to the hospital breathing with a heartbeat, and we call that a code save. And both of these outcomes were good outcomes, where the patients recovered to at least a point. And I just want to point that out. That's what our folks are doing here in town, and it's a regular thing that happens. And I've never experienced it something in my career how frequently that it does happen. So I wanted to point that out, let everybody know. Other than that, we're doing what we do. We're chugging along as best we can, and that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Kyle, on the 40 mutual aid calls, is that a revenue generator, and is it beneficial to the borough?
It can be a revenue generator. Every call we do, we hope to collect something on. Some of those calls are paramedic requests. We have what we call a bundle billing agreement set up with Beacon Falls, Middlebury, and Bethany. And a number of those paramedic requests were into those towns. So when we go there for a paramedic intercept, those are guaranteed. It's guaranteed revenue. Sometimes when we go to other towns in Waterbury with the full ambulance, it's based off of insurance and, you know, if somebody's a private pay or not. But in best case scenario, yes, they are revenue generators.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Kyle? All right, what I'd like to do at this time is go to item 10, which is for Chief McAllister, and any other items that he has on the agenda will follow. So
The motion that the Board of Mayor and Burgess authorized Mayor Hess to sign a contract for annual software support and maintenance for the Maple Hill Tower site through June 30th, 2026 with Motorola. In Norcom, Connecticut, the agent of Motorola formerly, Northeast Communications, Great Hill Road, Naugatuck, is recommended by Police Chief Colin McAllister. Second.
okay, Chief.
So what this is it is a extension for a warranty for the new tower site that was installed on the Maple Hill Tower site. That's supplemental power for additional radio coverage for emergency services. This does benefits the fire department, police department, street department. what happened was it was initially installed during COVID. There were delays, which led to the warranty actually expiring or the further off contract. So we're asking for a separate warranty to run concurrent with our pre-existing contract with Norcom. This is going to allow us trying to open up our pre-existing Norcom contract, which is a rather large one, and it's set to expire in 2026. So this is just going to be a separate one that runs along for the remaining 3 years of the contract. And we'll continue to service that site and ensure that it's our investment is taken care of and under warranty.
All right, any questions for the chief? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion that the Board of Mayor Burgess authorize the mayor has to sign an addendum to the existing licensing agreement between Tigna Broadcasting Holdings, DBA WCCT-TV, ultimate successor and interest to Tribune Television Company, DBA Channel 20, the Borough of Nogada, for a renewal up to 4 additional 5-year terms for the increase in the license fee of $300 per month beginning July 2023, associated with the installation, storage of equipment, modifications to the property, add an emergency generator support, or there is none currently for the fire and police radio communications antenna. It's recommended by Police Chief Alan and Assistant Fire Chief Walter Seaman. Second.
Chief.
What this is it's a service agreement, well, not service agreement, it's a lease agreement for us to continue to maintain our current radio tower at WCCT TV tower site from the Prospect Waterbury Naugatuck line. And it's also allows us to install a generator. There was previously a backup generator for that tower site, which has gone down about 2 or 3 years ago. There has been a power outage, we lose that tower site, so the fire department has actually had to move their trailer generator up there during storms, winter storms, so prolonged power outages. Obviously, we could use that in other places in town, powering that. So in order for us to get an agreement to put a new generator up there, we had to renegotiate the lease with the parent company, which is actually Fox, Connecticut. So hence why we have a new agreement here to allow you to install that generator back at the tower site.
Do we have a dedicated generator or just one where you?
This one will be an on-site dedicated generator for that. Previously, we've been using the fire department's temporary one when we did experience power loss.
All right, Fran, you want to add in?
Yeah, one of the problems is it's using temporary portable generator, whatever the light powered generator, is that when we need it, that's when all our resources are the busiest. You know, it's usually during a winter storm, during a hurricane, and to take resources, take a generator, bring it up there, try to hook it up during this particular time when the power is down, it is really ludicrous. It's just the wrong time to be doing something like that and taking resources away from the rest of the town. And it's dangerous. You know, you're not going to go, you don't want to go to the tower when there is lightning and thunder and so forth, and the conditions, the road conditions are worse than normal. It's something like that, and it's, if anyone's familiar with that, it's not just right on the road. You have to go down some, and it's just, this is the right thing to do. There's no reason why we should have to put a portable generator to take resources away from the town during storms, during the
All right, then Walter Seaman was part of this.
multiple guy.
All right, any?
No, there's we don't have natural gas.
Propane, it's a propane. And just for one final or add point to this, there was a permanent generator up there previously. It broke. We couldn't determine whose it was, whether it was the borough. It didn't appear to be ours. It was actually theirs. And they're like, well, we're not going to replace it. So we've been in this intermediary period for several years and finally just made a decision that we want to get one up there rather than argue with them to replace it. It'll be ours to maintain. I'm sure.
All right, everyone on the team is in favor of this, right?
Yes.
So that every theater takes a big part of that section of town. And without communications for that section of town, without the repeaters, that in itself could cause a hazard.
All right, any questions? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hey, Chief, do you have anything else?
That's it, man.
Take the rest of the night off.
First the police department, second was the fire department.
Can't say anything anymore under the beach tree. All right, Jim Stewart,
Mayor Hess.
is there, what do you have tonight? Other than curiosity and interest in everything we do.
19, 20, 21. In my opinion, 24.
Would you like it if we did
You
your
want to do
things?
9 too?
Would you like it if we
Yeah.
did your things and allowed you to go?
And actually, today he was saying he'd like to stick around for the whole meeting.
I'm
See what comes out of the
happy. I mean, you
executive
don't
session.
have that much other stuff to do.
Are you, do you want us to proceed with the regular agenda? Okay,
Number 8 there.
number 8.
Sure, no doubt. Okay.
Bad idea.
Well, I don't know, number 8, you can put to the end.
Yeah, it's too late now. Right now.
Yep.
All right, facade improvement program. So we've been looking at this for some time. And we put together a whole host of programs from other towns. Torrington, New Britain, Meriden, East Hartford, Weathersfield, Clinton, Danbury. And they're all pretty similar. And what the gist of it is, basically, I'll say the average, the consensus is that they allow, certainly defined facade improvement programs up to $50,000 with a $25,000 grant from the town. In other words, up to 50% with a, I'll say, a forgiveness plan whereby as long as you stay, do everything you have to do under the agreement for maintenance, pay your taxes, things like that. It's forgiven, the 25, the town share is forgiven 20% a year. So for example, if someone came in with a $30,000 plan that met the standards and was approved, they would receive, they'd have to put up $15,000 of their own money. The town would give them a grant for 15, and if they did everything they had to do, by the way, they have to do the work before they get the money, so it's done. And it would be forgiven $3,000 a year for 5 years, as long as they maintained it, paid their taxes, etc. So that's sort of the consensus of nuts and bolts of the plan. They're all a little different. Some are more expensive than others. They all define what's included, what's not included. There's general terminology, there's specific terminology, and there's usually a group that decides if the request or if the application, is worthy. There's also, I think, I'll say, a district, like initially, we were thinking the TIF district, which is basically downtown, Uniroyal coming in this direction, all the downtown and Rubber Avenue. Now, what I'm thinking is we could start with the TIF district, and if it works well, or if we have extra money, go townwide. But I'm here tonight just to discuss it. get some comments, and then, we will take the best of all of these, put them into a proposed plan and bring it here. But, I guess I'd like comments on just the general nature of the program, the 50%, you know, is 50,000 too much? You know, things like that.
Not necessarily.
I know, you know more. Why don't you weigh in on exterior improvements?
Well, I mean, especially when you're doing a facade improvement, if you do a whole new storefront with glass and you do the facade and the sign. I mean, there's so much involved. I mean, those signs are expensive. Well, certainly. You know, many years ago, the corner of Church Street, Dr. Shanahan did a whole facade improvement and everything to his storefronts there. And he did, at the time, he did consistent looking signs over each entryway. And that's had to be 30 years ago, but he was one, could have been more. He was one of the first guys on Church Street. And I don't even think we had a facade program at that time, but he did it because he wanted to clean up his stores and his area there. So that's the type of thing that you could possibly get, is that somebody's gonna come in, they're gonna clean up the whole front of their store to a certain extent, cost effective for them, windows, doors, facade, signage, etc.
You're just doing the first floor, okay?
All depends if it's a multi-tenant facility, then you may do more, but I think most of it is the entry level areas of the buildings, because mostly the second floors are probably more residential than anything else.
I don't see the, most of the drafts that I've seen from other towns or some of the adopted ordinances or programs, don't limit it to the first floor. Especially in the downtowns like Danbury, their downtown is very similar to this. So there are many multi-story masonry, brick, limestone buildings down there. And so they're not limited to the first floor. Towns like Clinton are much, they don't have the type of architecture that you see in the valley and outreaches to valley. So it's a little different. Most of their facades are one story or so down in that area. As the mayor mentioned, there's a lot of different towns that adopt these programs, and they vary all the way. That one of the questions that was already addressed is, well, what's the geographic area first? The second is who's eligible and how much. I like the idea of that 5-year. I think that's a terrific idea of having a forgiveness program, but it's spread out over time. So not only do they invest, and but they have to maintain, and if they can keep it, then they get the forgiveness over a period of 5 years. And there's other things, how much time do they have to begin and end? They can't just start and not complete.
Seymour had a program down there, and it was for the whole town, where if a person wanted to go in this case, I did it because I did some sign work for these people. They would give up to $5,000 for the sign. And whether it was a $5,000 sign or a $10,000 sign, they would only give up the $5,000. So some people in Seymour took advantage of that because they want to increase their.
Is that the area of the Strand?
Well, no, this was actually on 34, right on the Housatonic.
Over there.
There was some restaurants and so forth down there that took advantage of.
They did the downtown too. They're to that downtown.
Yeah, they are.
With the facade.
Yeah.
So in Torrington, there's a little nuance to it. So for funding, they reimburse 75% of the first 25,000 and 25% of additional expenses up to 50,000 with a maximum award of 25,000. So if you have a $25,000 project, you would get 18,750 and have to put up 6,250. If you went up to 50, you would only get $6,250 of the next 25. So in other words, encouraging smaller upgrades, which maybe is not a bad idea. But there are nuances like that, so this can be tailored any way we want. I like the idea of starting with the TIP district, especially Rubber Avenue. I'm okay with 50. I'm open to, I want to hear what everyone else thinks. I'm good with the Torrington Way or just, straight path.
What's the Britain way? Because I know that
Okay, New Britain.
they've got some stuff going on downtown in New York.
Yeah, it's let's just say it's more complicated than the other ones.
Depends on what section.
It's a 50% grant in New Britain, so the same number. And then they do it in stages where you can get one grant and then you can go for additional ones on top of it. But it's a much lower number there. If what I have is correct, it's more like in the $10,000 range rather than the $50,000 range.
50,000 doesn't get you a lot if you're doing a multiple storefront area. If you're doing one storefront that's, 25-foot storefront, right, 50 grand is probably a reasonable number. But if you're doing multiple storefronts and by the same owner, where he's got 5 or 6 storefronts, 50 grand is not going to really do anything. I don't know. That's
That's part of it. So
And
the
also.
owner, well, a tenant can apply with the owner's permission. So say there's 3 units, a tenant could apply for his storefront with the owner's permission. Which I guess makes sense, but it would be nice to get the whole building. And some owners would do it, some tenants would do it without the owner, right?
Yeah.
If they have a good lease.
I think you're on the right track there.
All right, here, let me just see, East Hartford, where are they? Pretty similar, very similar. Danbury. Danbury has a set district. Same thing, 50,000 max, 50%. So Danbury is almost exactly what we just described.
Danbury does require that the property be maintained for 10 years. It doesn't have a forgiveness plan, but it does have a requirement. I didn't see a forgiveness plan in Danbury, but it does
How
require.
do you get your money back if they don't comply?
Good question. So if you do the forgiveness, it's at least that you'll be guaranteed. It's almost like a security deposit.
Yeah, I understand we have to start somewhere, but my concern is that we're so focused on downtown and Rubber Avenue. What about places like smaller areas, North Main Street, Bridge Street, that never seem to get
So,
anything?
okay, so we can do that. But we'll have to, we'll have to put a larger amount in the kitty if we open it up to the whole amount. What do you call it? Right across the river, where that's in the TIF district. North Main Street is not in the TIF district, but North Main Street would be an excellent street. Now, we could include North Main Street. We could say, for example, the TIF district plus North Main plus whatever. So I mean, we can define the district, but I think you're right, Rocky. North Main Street is a good candidate.
North Main and Bridge.
And it's not a lot on Bridge, big wide
There's
circle.
not a lot on Bridge, but I think those people are still interested in trying to clean up their properties.
Absolutely. And there's just a lot of little small areas of
All right,
town.
so that's a good comment. So let me,
We should consider.
Yeah, and if you establish it as a policy, it's easy to amend and to.
so let's just say as a draft, any other streets other than North Main and Bridge that to start off, by the way, once it gets going, you know, if there's not a lot of interest, we can make it townwide. If it's very successful and we like it and we want to put more money into it. we can make it-
Spring Street, Bridge Street, North Main Street.
Spring Street?
Yeah, you got some stores there.
Sure.
You mean with lowers?
Yeah, Lower Spring. Yeah.
Yeah, salons and pizza bits.
That pizza to your clothes.
They have that. The Chinese.
The pizza place.
Do we want to start off, at least for talking purposes, with a $25,000 max? I mean, I'm talking about the grant, so that would mean a $50,000 project with 25, or do we want
I think we need to see how much we could budget for it first,
to,
then figure it out.
well, we got to start somewhere, so.
We should define the scope of the storefront.
And then the criteria on who's gonna get it, who isn't. I mean, it's
Well, the
hard,
criteria is, I think, will,
but it's hard to determine how much money we need if we don't know that criteria already.
well, we're gonna have to pick a number and make it first come, first served, I guess.
I mean, for example, Danbury, the criteria, Danbury, I said, is very similar. There's parts of their downtown, they include specifically repair restoration of exterior masonry. And
Yeah.
that's gonna be, that's an expensive
Just to point the
proposition.
building or,
Yeah, repoint, just power washing, maybe some sandblasting.
That you're already at the number, that.
Yeah.
Right, so, it's.
and my suggestion will be that we don't include heavy structural stuff.
But it doesn't,
Just make it pretty.
but the other aspects of the Danbury document, some of
So
the
you're
other,
looking for
is
development
they
uniformity.
also allow for windows.
Uniformity is
Windows,
really
and that's,
not.
and on those buildings, those older buildings, window installation, of windows,
It's like a
are,
North Main spring.
it's a couple of grand.
A lot of money.
All right, I'm gonna read, and this is just one of many. So this is merited. So eligible costs may include, but are not limited to window and or door replacement or repair, removal or replacement of siding, cleaning or painting, repair or restoration of exterior architectural detailing, repair or replacement of awnings, signs or cornices, building permits and architectural fees associated with the project, removal of architectural barriers which restrict access by handicapped persons. The eligible costs include interior repairs, new building construction, work performed prior to a fully executed loan agreement, purchase of property or equipment, decorative seasonal projects. Oh, it's not.
Yeah,
horrible,
Yeah,
right?
No.
I mean, the goal is to make the exterior facility look nice.
Right.
We're gonna replace the storefront, there's gonna be interior repairs, but I'm serious about my business, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
So in some, roof repairs are also excluded. I don't know if that, where you're reading excluded roof repairs.
Well, you can't see the roof.
Yeah, but I think that's why, that's also
Yeah, there's-
another ineligible.
There's also,
4 or 5 towns.
there's also some general criteria, like, let's see if I can find it, just talks about making your exterior look better. But anyway, I think what we should do is, put together a draft. And, Attorney Fitzpatrick will get together. We'll prepare a draft. We'll bring it here, we'll talk about it. We'll keep playing around with it until we like it. It's not like we have to do it immediately, and then we won't think of it. All right. All right. Jim, could you please put up the next slide, or these slides?
which slide would you prefer? We have three.
We have three.
We do. We have this, we have this, and then I have that.
That one.
That's it. All right.
Just out of curiosity, what are the other two?
Brad gave me three, said that you wanted three. So I just put them up
Breaks it over machine.
there. He's got Scott Street, and Ward Street.
Oh, separate, okay, he broke
Those are
down
stuff,
the
he broke them
detail.
out, yes.
All right.
So this is the whole, all right. So we'll put this
All right.
one on.
It was hard to see the colors up there though.
I'm gonna try to make it bigger. Let's see.
All right, I'm gonna spread out a map here too.
Yeah, the city, George. Oh,
All right,
Okay, you're Republican or Democrat?
so, just for the record, we are now on item 9, new sidewalk ordinance for discussion.
So on the color coordination is like red.
I'm gonna tell you. So we have.
Is that like number one?
So what, this is a townwide map and inventory of our sidewalk issues, which was done by our new employee in the engineering department. And there are 5 categories of streets, of sidewalks. Red is the worst. Orange-ish is poor, yellow is good. Light green is fair, dark green is excellent. So what you can see is that we have everything and they're sort of scattered around town. Now, the 2 worst areas, well, 2 of the worst areas are Scott Street and Ward Street, which just happen to be the areas where we get the most number of complaints. Now, we want to talk about a townwide project. The difficulty here, and by the way, I don't expect a resolution tonight because there's a lot of moving parts, but the difficulty is that to do everything would be in the $30–40 million range. To do just Scott Street is in the $1 million range, Jim, right? You have those numbers? Why don't you tell us, Jim, why don't you take us through Scott Street and Ward Street and what those 2 streets would entail?
Well, Scott Street does, Fred calculated 7,300 feet of sidewalks needing replacement. What we're coming up with about $150 a foot is $1,100,000.
Right.
Then on one side, Jim?
That's
What's
on both
that's
sides.
mixed, it's a mix.
Back
on
and
forth.
So all sidewalks that need replacement. And then Ward Street, 4,000 linear feet on both sides, so 2,000 on each. And that's $600,000.
So let me ask you, does Ward Street dictate sidewalks on both sides?
Does it require sidewalks? I guess? What do you do with the junky ones that you don't?
take them out, pave them. Abandon them.
You take them out and make the street wider.
That's a good question.
Take them out, pave them, what you got?
My tractor.
Let's just say that this is, we're gonna come up with a plan and start something, but it's a big ticket item and there's a lot of moving parts. So I thought this was a good place to start the conversation, get some thoughts in everyone's head, but like I think we put aside 200 grand. 200 grand as a trial program, I kind of thought would get us a couple of streets, but
That's gonna get you partial.
It's gonna get you that sidewalk.
Jim, how do you handle the situation, say Scott, for an example, where we've paved it?
Well, I mean, you can still do it, just with patch along the side of the road. I mean, it's not ideal, but.
Would your sidewalk then become the curb of the road? Sidewalk, would that become the curb of the street?
Well,
Where it's elevated?
that's something we've got to talk about, you know, and is the curb. Generally, the curb is, the state considers the curb theirs. Does the town consider the curb, when it's separate from the sidewalk, our curb? Are we replacing that curb? Are we just doing the sidewalk? Are we doing the whole thing? What half and half is
What's
getting
John, Ward Street's getting paved this fall.
Yeah,
So
well,
what are
that,
you gonna do?
well, don't get ahead of it, but you're exactly right, because,
We generally
Because-
don't touch the curb.
right,
Now you gotta replace the sidewalk. You really can't do the curb. The sidewalk's up against it.
right.
We leave it. I don't recall, but it might be granite curb.
Well, when street's gonna be paved in the, what, in the fall?
Fall or spring
Okay.
next year. This fiscal year is planned.
So if money was no object, what would you do with Ward Street?
I put granite curbing and sidewalk next to it, both sides.
Both sides?
Sure,
Well,
look really nice.
Yeah, well, no option. Question
It
is,
said it, money was no,
the question is, are sidewalks on both sides of the street needed? That's the question.
I don't think so.
Okay, so now, what's the plan of action if we eliminate sidewalk on one side of the street?
That would be, I mean, I'd leave that up to you, but it gets in this, which side do you eliminate? Are you gonna charge the people to pull out the curb or sidewalks? Are you charging just one side of the street?
I don't know, I'm
Who
not.
do you, how do you?
It's
you can tell,
complicated.
guess what?
I'm
We're
not,
charging
I'm
you,
not
your
over
neighbors
there.
across the street, they don't
I
have.
probably look at it, analyze.
It's a,
well, no, what he's saying is that who's gonna pay? Is the town gonna pay everything? Are we gonna pay half, 60-40? But if we're imposing costs on citizens, we have to do it fairly. And if someone on one side gets the sidewalk and the others gets theirs removed, you know,
Yeah.
that raises some
I mean,
issues.
my thought is, that if you're gonna allow people to pay this off over 10, 20 years, means you gotta upfront 100% of the cost the first year, maybe 95% of the cost the second year, 90% of the cost the third year. So basically, you're paying for 100% of the sidewalk, because inflation's gonna keep growing.
Well, then it's gonna take more than 5 or 6 years to do the town.
It's gonna take forever, because you're gonna do a year, and you're gonna spend whatever, $1 million a year, it's a crazy number. And you're gonna do that for 20 years. And then now all those, what color, yellow sidewalks are now orange or red. Now you've got a whole bunch more to do.
It's the same way with the roads.
Yeah, it's the same way. To me, it's gotta be a whatever you guys can afford, a consistent number. And I like you, remove sidewalks you don't need, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, Central
Yeah,
Avenue is
you
a
don't
perfect example, where we repaved it, but the sidewalks all suck. It's just like, why the frick didn't we replace the sidewalks? Because you're in a school district and they should have been all replaced at that time. End of story. That's the way it should have been.
What we've done in the past, we've done the
So-
monolithic sidewalks.
Let's talk about.
One sidewalk and curb together.
Slow it down. We have a fairness issue here, right? Now, you can't just say, well, it makes sense to do this street, but oh no, we're not gonna do your street. You know, we have to have a town-wide plan that is fair, that approaches being fair to everyone, at least in a town. Like, I'm sure everyone recalls the issue we had a long time ago with the gentleman and the sidewalk, he put one in and
Oh, yeah.
then they use grant money. Now, there's no way we'll get grant money to do the whole town. Could we get some grant money? Yeah, and if we got some grant money and used it to supplement an overall town-wide plan, I think it's legal and fair, but to me, it's not fair to just do 2 streets and then tell everyone else, well, we can't do your street, it's on you. No, we have to have a well thought out plan. And by the way, it's very difficult because of the numbers are large. So. Let's start off with some thoughts and comments.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Is this plan still including putting sidewalks where we don't have sidewalks?
no,
No. This is just to revamp what we have.
yeah. Unless, I will say, unless there's an unsafe area near the school that needs a sidewalk,
Yeah, but
then,
there are areas where someone took their section of sidewalk out. You know what I mean? You got sidewalks going up the street and all of a sudden there's a missing section. Makes sense that if you're doing that section, to put that piece back in.
Have we ever heard back?
They take it out before the cement fries.
Have we ever heard back from the Board of Ed on their analyzation of sidewalks that are needed to eliminate buses?
yeah, that's included in these priorities. Right? That's what Fred told me.
Well, then Fred is right.
Fred's over here.
They don't have from what I recall, my conversation with Bernice, they don't have a strict, walking distance for each school. It's not as simple as.
So size,
They sure do.
It's like a mile, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I thought. but it
Based on
wasn't-
the road width, based on intersecting streets, based on the speed limit.
Well, it seemed like.
I was chair of transportation for a number of years. I believe me, I studied
Need to
that.
get back out there again.
That's the reason sidewalks were put on Andrew Avenue. So that more kids could walk from that area to the high school. There were no sidewalks there before.
so who put the sidewalks in?
Public Works.
What?
Public Works put it in. When I was chair of the transportation committee, we said we could save a bus if we put the sidewalks on these streets, and that's what was done.
See, the Board of Ed's initial goal was to analyze the situation. If we put sidewalks here, how many buses can we eliminate? And what's the cost of that? Well, of course, I doubt that they did that because they're.
given an example of
All right, let's go one at a time.
a cross street.
We're recording the meeting, so let's go. one at a
There's a bus that picks up a child that's basically just across the street from across street school.
How old is the child?
Probably very.
If it's a kindergartner, he gets picked up anyways.
That's one, so the school's a moving part, both sides of the street, there's a lot of moving parts. It's a little one. So let me throw out this question. We put $200,000 in the budget this year, sort of to establish a trial vote. So, let's also think about where we want to do the trial program. What's your recommendation?
I wouldn't do it on Ward or Scott. Because you can't do the whole street, so again, how do you take where you're going to do it? I would find a street that's, I think we came up with, 2,000 feet
What about that short
long,
street?
and we could come up with a list of streets that could be done, that are red. And within a distance from a school, and that will take that fund and get done.
Before we do it, we want to have a townwide plan. In other words, even if it's a 20-year plan, we want to do the whole town in 20 years now. That, I guess that would mean $1 million a year, just that. Right?
I don't wanna say that, but we'd have to come up with more numbers and find out what you'd be shooting to, what, are we doing just the red, are we doing the red and the orange, are we doing?
Didn't you say it would be 30 to 40 million for all of it?
Yeah,
I think that was
it's not
12.
40, it was more, it was over 20 to less than 30.
So we gotta refine our numbers, because this stuff came in recently and we just came up with a cost, so.
Well, Mayor, is Central Avenue,
So where's Central Avenue? Must be red, I would imagine, Jim. Here you can see the school. I
Yeah.
can see the school.
Yeah, it's right there, it's green.
So it's red right in front of it? No, green on one
Green,
side,
and-
red,
it's,
that's red in
Well,
front
that's
of
the
it.
sidewalks we did.
did you do sidewalks in Central Avenue?
Oh, I see the red.
From Maple Street up to the school?
No,
To the left of the school,
Yeah, we did.
right there, that's the really bad sidewalk.
Why is it orange?
but it's because there's a bad portion of sidewalk there.
On the other side of the street, right?
You're talking down here?
No,
No, the real bad was
Right there.
right there.
we're there, go up,
Yeah, that's the real bad one.
going down there to Wesota, that's the one.
Yeah.
Where we've had more than one complaint.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the property owners are willing to put some money up, to, do the sidewalks in front of their facilities?
Yeah, but that even raises issues, you know, what are we gonna do for everyone else, you know? But I would say, you know what, that sidewalk looks to me like it's less than 200,000. And it's right in front of the school. Maybe that's a pilot location. You know, let me throw this question out. If we were to approach this as I'll say a 20-year plan, $1 million a year, which could be shortened if we got grant money or other funding. As a group, are we willing to commit to that spending?
At what point do we enforce the regulations by the town, the ordinances by the town,
Well,
for the people to maintain their sidewalks?
it's very poorly written and troublesome. This is an issue that has never ever been addressed in 100 years, and it gets worse every year.
Yeah, if anybody's walked these sidewalks, you know.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know how now we can commit to that kind of money.
well, not tonight.
I'm not even studying, not knowing 5 years from now what's gonna be happening.
Well, we did it with the roads, and it was the right choice. Now the roads look great and the sidewalks are less than stellar.
It took you how many years to get up to the $1 million?
That was right.
5, 6 years.
And that's the question, we put aside 250,000 a year, so we have enough, or, I mean, how do you do that?
So we don't need a resolution tonight. I'm throwing it out there because it's a major problem. It requires a well thought out plan. There's a lot of moving parts. And I think that we will start working on, I'm gonna say a long-term 20-year plan addressing, addressing sidewalks based on the condition analysis and school safety analysis. And at some point, we'll work on it, we'll refine it, and we'll vote on it. And you know, when we get to the end, we're either gonna do it or we're not. So I'm definitely in favor of starting a long-term process and trying to find creative ways to make it cheaper, knowing that it's a big ticket item.
If you took the sidewalks out in certain places entirely, pave both sides, and then put a shoulder on it, like for a bike path or for people to walk.
Well, we are doing that downtown.
But you know what I mean, where there's sidewalks now, we really don't need them. If you widen the road, And just go a white line.
Jim?
I don't know that I'd go for a wider road. Just because it's now you're gonna just in the winter, you're just gonna plow snow on top of them. I don't know, I'd have to think about it.
Well, one of the issues with that is an area that water, white line. Isn't protected. Every place you see a solid white line on the right.
No, you would have to swipe it on the other side or.
People will just park in that area.
Park in there or they'll drive it.
And the beauty of the sidewalks is when you're done, it really enhances the neighborhood. You rip them out and you put just more asphalt in. I'm not sure you're gonna get the property value benefit.
Or if you stamp the concrete.
All right, let's do this.
We were in a sidewalk.
Jim, before the next meeting, I want you and Fred to recommend an area
Stamp the
for
asphalt.
the pilot program for this year. And then we will start working on a long-term plan. And we will also instruct our grant writer to look for grant opportunities and we'll do where we go. But if we don't start, we'll never get anywhere.
Yeah, if anyone can find a grant, we should.
Well,
I said, if anybody could find a grant, it's cheaper.
yeah,
And if you're looking like in school zones, it might be something for school safety also.
I didn't mean stamp concrete, Jim. I meant stamp.
Stamped asphalt.
Yes. You know,
It's the stuff we're putting on the bridge, for instance, the crosswalks, it's essentially the same price. That's a
Really?
concrete sidewalk, yeah. Very expensive.
even with the granite.
And it won't last as long as a concrete sidewalk. It's done well.
It's just about.
all right, so with those comments, we will proceed to item 12, right?
Yes. We'll say here.
All right, so item 12, I appoint Amaryllis Perez as the member of the Naugatuck Elderly Commission, term to expire 6/1/24. I reappoint Ken Pollack as a regular member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire 7/1/28. I reappoint Kathy Zuzik as a regular member of the Blight Citation Hearing Board, term to expire 7/1/26.
Motion the Board of Members to approve the reappointment of James Higgins, Michael Lane, Naugatuck as regular member of the Finance Board, term to expire July 1, 2026.
Second.
Questions? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion the Board of Members to approve the reappointment of Diane Cinto, East Waterbury Road, Naugatuck, regular member of the Board of Finance, term to expire July 1, 2026.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to the Board of Members to approve the reappointment of Joseph Savarese, Union City Road, Naugatuck, so regular member of the Board of Finance, term to expire July 1, 2026.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion the Board of Members approve the following vendors to continue to provide goods and or services for fiscal year 23-24, and authorize mayor has to use all contracts, related documents as recommended by Controller Allison Bruce as it read.
Second.
Questions? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion the Board of Members authorize Public Works Director James Stewart accept a fee in lieu of final cleaning from Connecticut Water Company amount of $42,000 for work completed on the Allentown project as recommended by Public Works Director James Stewart. Second.
Jim?
So water we put in about 1,600 feet of main on Allerton from Field Street to Ave. We worked with them and came up with the $42,000 payment. It's scheduled for paving, not this fiscal year, I believe next fiscal year. So I highly recommend we accept that funding.
All right, You're good with the number.
Very good.
All right, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion board member Burgess authorized mayor to sign a contract fiscal year 24 BO 54 for drainage improvements at Fairchild Park, Cherry Street. With earthworks, excavating, landscaping, Woodruff Hill Road, Oxford, as recommended by Public Works Director James Stewart.
Second.
Jim,
So, this is a, paper by a federal housing grant. To resolve flooding issues on the Cherry Street.
it's a small city, correct? Yeah, go ahead.
The low bidder, bid was $611,000 for the base bid. We have $871,000, 871,500 for construction. So what I'm proposing to do is award, the base bid. That will allow us to do approximately 2/3 of the design project. With the alternate, the total cost turns into $975,000. So we're hoping, if there are no extras, no issues under the ground, we'll be able to do about half of the alternate bid. I've talked to the contractor, Earthworks, and they seem amenable to do half of the additional work. That would get us, almost off the roads. And we can come back in the future for another grant to finish the work in the backyards.
So let me put this in a little perspective. So we applied for a small city grant for $1 million, which we received. We began engineering, and there's a whole host of problems. Hunter's Mountain, Lower Hunter's Mountain, Fairchild Park, all the Charles Street, all those streets over there. There's about 4 or 5 separate problems, and it's quite complex from an engineering standpoint. So when we got to the end, we knew we couldn't do the entire project for $1 million. So we broke it up to get the maximum return for our dollar that we can get. Having already engineered future projects, which we will try and get money for to complete everything. So this is the way that we can get the most relief to the most number of people in a way where we can also get the drainage through our Uniroyal property and down to the river, so it won't adversely impact our new industrial park. So from an engineering standpoint, it was pretty involved, but we're going to do 2/3 of the project and save the third for the future and figure out a way to get that done later.
Including rebuilding the detention pond in Fairchild Park is also part of the project.
Which was being done to create a skating park in the park, right?
Partially can be used in the future for that.
So if you know where Fairchild Park is, there used to be a skating pond and a little, hot chocolate shed and a tow road for skiing. And someday, in the not too distant future, we would like to bring some of that back. So this also works into that. Questions?
So with your award, we can move ahead and get all the remaining documents and get all the improvements to move ahead.
We're gonna be dead before all this shit happens.
I've been saying that for a while. Pete denies it. He's gonna be around.
You might be that, all right, well, we got the money, we gotta do it, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion that the board members authorize mayor has to sign a contract with Weston and Sampson for stormwater testing and compliance regarding MS for permit, stormwater compliance services, industrial discharge. Sampling services recommended by Public Works Director James Stewart.
Second.
Jim?
Weston Sampson isn't our favorite engineering firm. The gentleman who's been working on our stormwater has been the only engineer we've been able to work with. We've been with, 3 different firms before this, and every one of them has given up, doing this type of work because they say it's just too difficult, to time the rainstorms and get all the paperwork. It's not enough, profit involved, basically. So they've done a good job. They've kept us in compliance. And I'd like to continue this, continue with them. This allows us to be compliant with our MS4 permit, basically our storm sewer discharges into the river for the entire town. It also includes, our industrial sampling, for industrial discharge permits, which includes the 4 public works sites, the transfer station, the salt storage facility up behind the police station, the parks and rec garage, and recycling facility and the public works garage.
So Jim, you understand that when you stand there and vouch for someone that you become responsible for their future performance.
Yeah, I don't like it, but if I had someone I thought would be better, I'd be saying something else, but I do not, and they performed in this capacity in the
So
past.
to be clear, you're vouching for.
I guess so.
Okay,
Do they have your office in Oxford?
They are located in Rocky Hill.
all right.
It
Any
is
questions?
all budgeted, so.
Yeah. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
22. All right, so let's have some fun with this. As you may or may not have noticed, I always get annoyed when I see a tree on the logo of the Borough of Lynn. And the reason for that is, and I recently checked some of my sources today, that back in 18, I don't know, 18 something.
44?
No. In that era, a historian misinterpreted the Algonquin language and took a reference to Naugatuck, which was Na-ho-unk, which is nowhere listed in any deed or any record anywhere, and said that means tree. Well, every deed and every legal reference that we have found refers to Naugatuck, UCK, which means winding river. And when you think about it, our history, our heritage is the river, not a tree. So what I would like to do is get some research done, get a professional group to put together a logo, a presentation, input from the board, input from the public, and come up with a new logo. Not that we're going to change everything on our trucks and everything right away, but as we move forward, we will have a new logo. And I think the tree is not a strong enough symbol for a town that was founded by great people on a great river. And we're only here because of the river. The industry came here because of the river, not because there was a gold tree down in Manzoni. So I would, I really want to change our logo.
That's not old street, but you ever heard of my?
So in any event, I'd like to, no rush, but I'd like to look into that, get some pricing and some things and change our logo formally, properly and formally.
I will say when I looked at the winding river as a logo is tough, isn't it?
Well,
It's
so,
tough for an artist to do. You gotta have a good artist on it.
yeah, so there's a spot that, okay, I'm gonna. Where's my phone?
Is he gonna give up this mission spot now?
No, this is not that.
I know where that is.
So,
On my father's tombstone is what I think.
anyone wants to do any homework? In fact, let me read this because it's very interesting. Here's the book. So, Indians of the Housatonic and Naugatuck Valley. Now, you can go online on the archives and actually pull up the actual book. And I read this, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I was asked to do a talk at the Historical Society when I came across it. And it's been annoying the hell out of me ever since. But, so, by the way, some historical notes. Naugatuck, the actual location, is not in Naugatuck. It's in Seymour, where the falls. So that was the best fishing place because the fish had trouble getting up the river. So that location in all the deeds is clearly what the Native Americans referred to as Naugatuck. However, the most revered part of the land, which shouldn't surprise anyone, is the gorge, where the beautiful waterfalls and everything on it. And there are all types of photos from back at that time in that area. And that was also an area where people from New York City would come on the trains to go there. It was so beautiful, dams there. There's a kiosk there that lays all this out. So that is really a very sacred spot. But right there, as you approach the gorge, there's a big turn in the river. And to me, that's like a beautiful spot. But there's a lot to this, and I think that we should do it properly based on historical fact, not based on a misinterpretation of the language. But let me read to you what I found a long time ago. If you want to hear it, it?
Yeah, sure. We're already into it.
All right. All right. So this is a book by Samuel Orcutt, 18 something. So I gotta go to page 60 or something. By the way, here's a picture of the gorge, which goes way back then, which was the most revered spot.
Is that where the dam is now?
Well, there used to be a dam there. They built a dam back then, but it's no longer there.
What it would cost to change everything, we could put in more sidewalks.
We're gonna stamp the logo into the sidewalks in every street.
There you go.
I can tell you, if we have a better logo, we'll get more luck and more money will flow. Being cursed to this tree.
The access to the river.
Maybe we can get some more Indian money.
Native American.
Indigenous.
Hey, look at that, there's the bridge, you know where that is. I was back there 125 years ago,
Yeah, like page 40.
almost 60, it's like in his
I thought he said he was there 125 years.
Back at Rice Switch and where it starts. Fine, goes up the way, that speeds.
Turn it to a townwide, what do you think, and a high school art project?
Well, I was thinking about that kid that came up with the Greyhound logo for the Nordic school, see, he knows how to
Draw. So you need that to spend that line.
Yeah. We see, okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna read this to you, okay? It's a little. So actually, the name of Naugatuck, what they called it back then, was Chewstown, C-H-U-S-C. Choose. So it said, and he was an Indian chief. So he settled at the Falls, which is really in Seymour, a place originally called by the Indians and English Naugatuck, which name was afterwards applied to the river. In the Indian deed of this place, it is said, only the said Indians do reserve the fishing place at Naugatuck. So then they had some committee look into all that, it was, the boundaries were questioned. Then it said there was a Mr. John W. Barber was told that the original name of this place was Naugatuck, which signified in the Indian language one large tree, so named from a large tree which formerly stood near Rock Rimmon. The name, as far as the town records show, never was Naugatuck, but was Naugatuck. The difference being Unk, U-N-K, means a standing tree. Tuck means a tidal or broad river or winding river. The river at this place flows first in a direction a little east of south, then turns short to the southwesterly, and then south. 100 yards, blah, blah, blah. Listen to this. It is sufficient to say that this remarkable winding of the river with the falls would originate the name rather than a mythical tree, the reality of which is warranted by no records whatsoever. And by the way, we checked all those deeds, Fred and I, and in my mind, it's conclusive.
If you're looking at a waterfall with a stream under it, a river under it,
Say that again?
if you look at the logo, and say a waterfall.
Oh, no, I'm not looking at any,
Just the river.
I'm not looking like for an absolute, I don't know what the right answer is, I just know I don't like tree. And it's gotta resemble a river.
Chance something to put it on my shirt.
There you go.
You wore that, you always wore that shirt. Anyway, you want me to look into this a little?
Why not?
All right. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll get creative.
It'll make a good newspaper article, right?
On history of
By the way, Andreas, I have piles of research on this with all the deeds.
Feel free to stop by and read it.
I will.
So can we continue on to 23, Mayor?
I don't know if I'm done yet.
Okay.
I'm just getting warmed up.
It's a windy river.
Rocky, how old are we gonna be?
How old? Pretty old.
9.5.
Pretty old.
All right, let's go to item 23.
Motion the Board of Mayor Burgess authorize control Allison Bruce. Refund the following tax refunds approved by tax collector James Doggin as if read.
Second.
All right, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion the Board of Mayor Burgess authorize Mayor Hess to sign an amendment to the scope of services with Kleinfelder for sanitary and storm water improvement project.
Second.
All right, so this work is already done. It's already included in all the pricing that we looked at and sent out to bid. There was some of the little extras like the bridge, the Whittemore Bridge and stuff like that, but it's all included in all of our budget. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion, the Board of Mayor Burgess authorize mayor has to sign a financial assistance proposal with DECD related to Connecticut Community Challenge Grant. Second.
I don't know if this is necessary, but this is, they're giving us a grant, which we were accepting, the $6 million one. And they want me to sign that we're gonna do a match, so we are gonna do a match, but I put it on here just to be clear.
Yeah.
Questions? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I should point out before we, well, let's do public comment first. Is there any public comment? Jim?
No.
All right,
The team is still shy.
well,
Team is still shy.
I know, I could call, but, second call for public comment. Is there anyone in the room wearing green who would like to make a public comment?
You're calling me out.
No, just only if you want to.
I'll give a little update if that's okay.
Okay. Let me preface it. So Tina is an all-star member of CERT, run by Grant, and she is working on expanding the repertoire of services that will be provided by CERT. And she's got a lot of good ideas and a lot of areas that can help the grow. So why don't you?
I'd like to start with a couple of the, most of you know, CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. And Tina wanted to do more for the first word in the community. And that's what spurred her onto this program. And she's picked up the ball and ran with it. And I'm not holding her back, that's for sure.
No, we've had a need, the CERT team is training, volunteering, training and volunteering. And we just felt that there's a bigger spot for us if we sponsor that community base. And just letting everybody know that we're here. You know, we're just not sitting on the sidelines. We can be something in town. And we looked for the need, and the need was an information center. That information center is growing. I have all different kinds of organizations. We have 23 people who are on a list to come in and volunteer, helping seniors fill out paperwork, helping veterans. I know they have to be accredited. So we have people that are coming in that are accredited that can help veterans fill out paperwork for the VA here rather than going to the VA and filling it out. So we've been doing a lot of that. We have 426 on our list so far in just a basic computer base right now. We've been invited to different other CERT organizations to see how they run things. So we can combine our volunteers and combine training. And just trying to get all organizations together. I have been getting pamphlets and information from not only organizations within town, but organizations within the state that don't have a base in the Naugatuck area, but would like to have a base here so people don't have to go to Hartford, go to Manchester, go to different places. We can have it right here in Naugatuck. So it's come from this little idea into a major Naugatuck project. But we just want to make it easier for our community.
Tina, you mentioned organizations.
Mhm.
Just not all of them. A rough idea.
Rough idea, we have the Red Cross, we have the Veterans Association, we have suicide prevention organizations, we have local youth services, we have local organizations. The Elks Club I have not gotten to yet, I have to get to them. Need some time to do that. We have, I'm trying to think of the many things. we tried to list as many things and projects as we could without leaving anybody in town out. So, as I said, we have the youth, we have the seniors, we have the veterans, we have the kids involved. Anything we could think of, we made a list and just went down that list. I still have 145 different people that I need to talk to. So I'm not getting them off in the middle of the time.
Representatives, you're talking representatives from. the different-
Representatives from other organizations, representative from services, representatives from volunteer services, representatives from transportation for seniors and veterans, whatever we could think of. Physicians, clinics, whatever we could think of that would help the community. So that's where we stand so far.
That's a big.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're trying to be the ground floor and feet on the ground rather than sitting there waiting for something to happen. We're still there for that whenever you guys need us. But we just want to put something back to the community that's giving us something.
Peter mentioned that, it was the same thing across the country. It's a federally funded program. And, has specific training, mandated training through FEMA that has to be done. And, we have, regular updates of the training and the last training. We try to get a few of our, multi-meetings and try to get some additional training in there. Well, what we wound up with, and I always say it's like a kid on the first day of school. They have their lunchbox and they got their books and they got their, their book bag and they got their pencil box. And they're all ready to go to school. Like CERT is trained for disasters and they're all ready to help out in a disaster. But the kid sits on his front porch waiting for the school bus and the school bus doesn't come. So this is a way to keep membership and to do something for the community. So that people don't, I won't say burnt out, but they get, gee, we've got all this training, it's great, we want more training, and we want to use it. So this is a way to keep people active and have them take care of the community part of the community emergency response.
And there's other certifications too that a lot of us are taking on our own just to help out within the community, because we want it to be that community based, we want to be a part of it. So we even have that also going on.
And all the training they take is all certified and it's done by. The training is expensive. For example, something some of you might have heard of is mental health first aid.
I was just gonna mention that too. That's something that is on our list too, is mental health. And we've done mental health first aid. We've done, a few of us have done also a, not psychological, but learning how to deal with people that have mental health, learning how to talk to them, learning how to listen. Some of us even took a class on how to listen. Because that's all. There are some people that did.
So Tina, we're behind you 1,000%.
Thank you, sir.
Keep going and whatever we can do to help, we will.
Give me a spot.
Right.
I'm getting things in. I'm boxing things up. I'm contacting people. I've contacted people from Chicago to California to Texas to get ideas as to how to help the community doing this. And they've given us some great ideas.
I did find one job for you that I told Fran about. We will take it that way.
I told them, just let me know.
It's gonna be fun. You'll like it.
Just let me know what I can do for anybody. And if you have any questions, please, I'm in the book, I'm on the, Facebook, whatever you need. And even if you
When you
need a
say
one-on-one
on
coffee,
Facebook, this group, your CERT,
Certainly on Facebook.
but this program is on there?
No.
not yet.
Oh, okay, all right,
I'm working on that.
okay.
And I'm working on a postcard to let people know what we're doing.
All right, so I would say, when you get to the point when you want to unveil it, so to speak, it should be unveiled here, and then we will do something to formally proclaim your, I wouldn't say existence, but your right to proceed, and then we'll go from there.
And we would love to do that with the organizations that are backing us also. The Red Cross has said that they would be here. I have a whole mess of other state and national organizations that would like to be here for that.
Okay,
Are you also working with Jill Mahoney and her group?
Jill is actually, I'm a PLTI member,
Okay.
so that's where I originally got the idea. And then when I started, it was for another project, which is my grandson and mine. He's autistic, and I wanted it to be an autistic project. But it was the ground floor for this project. It was a project getting everybody to know what autism is. And Jill is the one that got me involved, and she said, I couldn't figure out the niche for it because it just wasn't there. I could figure out how to do it, but I couldn't figure out how to do it just for autism. My grandson and I kept going on to other things. And when I was sitting at the YMCA, when I was sitting at Yale taking classes, everybody was talking about the need for information within town. And that's when we sat down and took our autism project and just made it a community project. And we added CERT into it, and CERT's a great place to do it too, because you have those volunteers that want to do something. But that's where it started, was with Jill. It's all her fault.
You see, there's a steep little Brian, you talk in front of the group. Saying that respect. But she's not shy about making phone calls and getting up to deputy commissioners of emergency services.
Right.
And public protection.
I'm not, I have panic attacks, so when you see me turn blue, just don't worry about it, I'm okay. But,
You know what to do then, right?
I've had to talk in front of a group of 647 people, but it takes me a little while to get there.
You're doing great.
Thank you. But if you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I'll get you some paperwork on it too.
all right, thank you,
You're
Tina.
very welcome.
All right. I want everyone to look at Jim Kane now, we bet that we'd conclude this by 8:45, so I can see him getting nervous.
I'm wearing green.
The meeting or
Last call for public comment.
0.
All right, so we will go to Mayor and Burgess comments, and I think we'll start with Megan Smith. Have you been listening all along?
Yeah,
And now you're here live.
I am. I couldn't let Jan be here and me not show up.
I was gonna say something about it too. Oh, right.
I have nothing tonight. I have to keep us on schedule, so.
Okay, what event were you at?
My little one had a baseball game.
Oh, this one, okay. All right, I'll go next. So, we've had a request from the Park Commission that they would like us to consider naming, 2 ball fields. They would like us to consider, the field, the football practice field adjoining Outlook School. You know what I mean? Ball, the recently just.
Yes.
So they'd like us to consider naming that field after him. And it's a little premature, but the second field at, adjoining Delgado Field, they asked that if it's not part of Delgado Field, if it's a separate field, be named after Mike Felcher. So I'm just throwing it out there. If we can put it formally on the agenda, ultimately we'd have to vote on it But, Rocky, do you wanna weigh in on any of this?
I just think we should be very careful about naming fields about people. I
That's all.
think it might have been a bit haphazard and not taking into consideration others, so it's worth some conversation.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up in this fashion. So,
That people should be on it, I absolutely agree with that, but
I totally get it. I just, I was asked to bring it up and I'm bringing it up, so we can make it an agenda item or we could have them come make a presentation. I don't know.
I agree with Brian also, that sometimes, and believe me, it has nothing to do with either of these people. Yeah, but so sometimes in the past, not only us, other towns and cities have named something after someone that was popular that one, microsecond, so to speak. And then years later, it gets lost in translation and, there are some towns that actually have ordinance that you cannot name something after the person. And I think Middlebury, I don't know if they still have it, I think they have one, they were going to name with the field that George Francis donated to the Little League out there. It's George Francis Field, and they couldn't, they had to change it, it was possible, yeah.
Is there the option to put like maybe a plaque at the field and not necessarily name the field after
Oh,
them,
yeah.
but put like a statue with the name
And I'm not saying this is a bad idea.
Oh, no.
Because we truly have some, residents, citizens that have really excelled and really helped the town and helped the youth, help sports and everything else that aren't necessarily politicians or their names aren't in the paper all the time. They're not, the ones walking at the head of the memorial, they're very waving to everyone. They're in the background, actually boots on the ground, doing work and doing very good work. And so there should be some kind of recognition, yeah, people like that. And so I'm not, by any means, not ruling it out. I just think, as Rocky said, we have to look at the whole picture. We have to.
So you want me to make it an agenda item?
Sure.
yeah, why not?
Okay,
And now put with the Megan Smith Memorial Field.
Well, no memorial, I'm still here. You got some plans here?
No,
Well, we weren't in church, you weren't at the meeting when it started,
we could have a plan for years in advance.
Oh, perfect. That's what
Rocky,
Yes, sir. As many of you know, Kim has retired from Park and Rec. And she was just wonderful over the years. I worked so closely with her on things. The dog park committee presented her with a logo, dog park logo mug and a t-shirt. And we also presented her with a framed certificate that said the Naugatuck Dog Park Certificate of Appreciation presented to Kim for her years of unwavering dedication to the Naugatuck Dog Park. And I almost cried when I did that because she's just helped us so much. It's absolutely amazing. So I wish her well in retirement, but she did say she would be coming back to volunteer in many of the things that she did. The only other thing I have is the downtown excavation. What's going on now, what's going to be going on in the future. I'm just concerned that it's taking parking spaces and it's in front of businesses. And I'm not sure that people know they could park in the commuter lot or they could park on around the corner. I'm just wondering if we should do something to put a sign there saying additional parking or, I don't know.
it changes every day.
It does.
So you would have to change the signs every day, so,
I know a few of the businesses have been good about posting it too, like that's.
Yeah,
I will say that the contractors are working well with the businesses
so you're
and
notified.
doing all they can, but it's not easy,
Yes, yeah,
and it's gonna go on for a while.
absolutely. That's just why I wanted to bring it up to make sure the business owners stay fully informed, and that people know if there's alternate parking available.
If there's a spot out there, with the digital sign,
So, let me make a comment for the record, Andreas. Anyone who wants to park All they have to do is go on Old Firehouse Road, and there's about 60 empty spots every day, and walk 50 yards to your location. There is plenty of parking on Old Firehouse Road. So I take my grandson to school a lot, or pick him up, and I just go down Old Firehouse Road and walk there. By the way, if you drove down Church Street and look for a spot, it would take you 10 minutes, so it's much easier than just to go to Old Firehouse Road.
That's all I have. Well, this is the age old problem down there.
Yeah,
That, even, business owners park in front of their business and then say there's someplace to go.
That age old is just a lazy one.
I'm trying to be.
there is a lack of parking in general,
It's tough.
which we'll address soon.
Hey, I park in that parking lot down there.
Me too, and I walked to the goat.
And now that,
No, you can't, you're standing chain up.
all right, so let's, Mike. Okay, there's no one on Zoom, right?
No.
Jim,
So we're continuing our email training. Some of you may notice, Jan, you asked that I challenge you.
Yeah.
So I took
You
it to
didn't
heart.
get me either.
I'm working on it.
I know you didn't get me. I know you
It's
tried.
there, but some of you may have noticed if you have inadvertently clicked on something that I put through, you're now pushed to a training that you have to do. You can't ignore it. I get the reports. I know who's not doing them. And please don't make me have to chase you down or I'll lock down your account.
Delete everything that I don't know.
Good, then what's to read?
like, you want to say anything about Gmail or just leave?
So,
Hold on, it's important.
this is the one with this. So the second part of this, Rocky had mentioned him, and this is through no fault of her own. It's just Park and Rec has been doing their annual email blast to the parents and the children. And Google, in their infinite wisdom, in November of 2022, changed the way they're filtering mass mailings. If Gmail or Gmail accounts, personal Gmail accounts, see too many messages of the same type of subject, they're anticipating that it's spam. And we had this issue in April, and we had it again in June. And it stems from a mass mailing that came out of Park and Rec. So what we're doing right now is we've contacted Google through all necessary means and filled out all the proper paperwork that we need to fill out. And asked that they remove the blocks to the personal Gmail accounts and any other Gmail accounts that may be tied to businesses. Such as some of our consultants that we use may actually be Gmail-based customers with their domain name on top of it, such as naugatuckEDC.com. So if you try to email Ron Pugliese or Roy Barassa, it bounces. We are looking into a mass mailing program such as Constant Contact, Salesforce.com, MailChimp, something like that. And what I'm basically, we'll be sending out a message to all department heads once we get back online with Google and Gmail in a normal operating basis, is that anybody who has to send any emails that are, say, more than 4 to 5 people, 10 people, that we use this new system that we have for that so that we can avert the blocks. Because the more times that we get blocked by Google, the longer they're going to basically put the noose on us, and it's going to adversely impact business.
Let me just say it more precisely. Right now, I can't email anyone with a Gmail account and it annoys me. Well, you're fixing it,
Yes,
and we're gonna go up in the cloud and have a new way, and we're gonna modify our policies so it'll never happen again.
correct.
All right.
So please, if anybody's complaining to you about it, please let them know that we are on top
So
of it. We
the
know what's going on.
first is if they send anyone who's on Gmail an email, they won't get it, right?
If they send it from their borough account, no, they will not. If they send it from their
We should
personal
know
account,
that
they will.
because
Does it tell us they didn't get it or?
Yes,
Yeah.
you will get a bounce back, and it will say that the message sent to, like, my personal email account or my work account will say that Gmail suspects it's spam. They suspect it's spam, but because they adjusted their rules, it doesn't go into the spam folder, they just bounce it. So it's like you running up to someone's house and banging on the door, instead of them saying, go to the garage and make your turn, they just say, don't go away. And send you packet, because they're just trying to cut the traffic down on their servers.
Yeah, that happened to me when I was trying to send an email to the board vet.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
So
with the
what
Board
I've
of Ed,
done
we got
though,
those blocks removed on the
I
Board of Ed,
put, this is not spam. And it actually got to them.
because the Board of Ed has different filters.
So.
But we also had them whitelist us in there because the Board of Ed is actually a Gmail or Google Workspace account. It just knocked it down, k12.ct.us, sits on top of Google. So because of that, it's all running through the same systems. It doesn't look like it, but it is.
You can go into Gmail right now, set up an account and say, if you say it's gonna be for my business, then they'll ask you, do you already have a domain name?
Right.
Jim.com. And they said, well, we could use your domain name and give you the email. It's actually still going to Google, and that's what Jim was saying. And even if the person has your name, they would say, make sure that you have this in the contact. You have in your contact list. Even if you have it in your contact list and you personally say you have a Gmail account that says that is not spam, it still goes to spam. Interesting.
Yep, they're just trying to cut down on the amount
I don't
of
need to go to the.
useless mail that most people are doing. It's almost like the junk mail that you get at the house. If you notice that you may be getting a little bit less of it because they're sending more and more emails that are there. I'm getting junk text messages now because you use that phone number somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, I have
So
to
be very
find the
careful
numbers.
on what you click on, because there's so much malware that's out there.
Yeah, I got hit with something the other day and I had to go through the whole security Norton and update everything and clean everything out.
Yeah, if you have any country you're not sure, call me. I mean, it's as easy as a simple discussion, and you may not look at things a certain way, but I see things in a different way.
Jim, I'd like to know for the record that you, on your own time, put you past 8:45. All right.
Yes, Mayor, because I was talking, it was taking it past 8:45, so tonight's schedule has a date and time, Megan.
I called him.
When past 8:45, yes, you did it
I
on
called him
purpose.
today.
You did that. No, but what you're saying is that you would have finished executive session in 45 seconds. if I
That's what
didn't
I'm
speak.
saying.
That's what we're saying, but now we have this all worked out.
All right. Go
Right,
ahead.
Fran has nothing.
I have nothing.
Jan, Nada, Fran.
See you on Friday for fireworks.
Nada.
Okay, so for the
I
fireworks,
love these guys, look at that.
if
We ate
anyone,
up all of our time.
I know,
any
sorry.
purchase would like a special invitation to a VIP, spot to watch the fireworks, just let me know and you'll be on the list.
Okay.
You too, Tina, you could be on the list.
Tina will be there anyway. She's part of.
Yeah, so you gotta, don't you have to protect us? Or
Yes.
I'm gonna be in the booth.
I wanna be on the field and see if I get hit by any shells.
right.
Life insurance paid up?
All right, okay, Bob.
A motion.
No, just your comment.
Nada.
Okay, all right. So let's go to the next one.
Motion to recess the executive session at 8:53, 8:53. Discussion of filing real estate parcels A, B, C, Y, and Z, Northern Industrial Park, Section 3, Greenfield, Rotary Field, acquisition of land for downtown parking, Church Street parking study. Tax incremental financing district, Church Street, Maple Street, Peter Paul / Herky property, collective bargaining, fire union, MOU, street union, chapter 89, union, chapter 90 union, police dispatchers union, personnel, assistant golf course / pro shop manager contract negotiations, West Hill condominiums, pending litigation, inviting in nobody.
All right.
You don't need to write.
You're all set.
Thanks, Ed.
Second.
Good night, Barrister.
We have a second.
Second.
Nancy, second.
Okay.
John, Sessions.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Any questions or